What's up, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
Mellow.
and Rado, the sports podcast where we talk your favorite sports matchup, sports debates, talk about the sports highlights of the week, sports highlights. I can't even talk right now, man. It's a little late out here in New York. What's going on,
Yeah,
Mello? How are you?
not much, not much. As you said, it's a little late. Out here, about to get started on week 7. NFL was pretty much in action. A lot of good games, a lot of good matchups, a lot of injuries, a lot of people going down. It's killing me in fantasy. I can tell
Oh,
you that
that's
much.
correct.
But pretty much we just here to talk football, man. I'm definitely happy to be here. Happy to be back every week. I love it.
Oh yeah, the season's been going strong. Like you said, week 6 is end in the books, and right now week 7 is about to be starting up. A lot of teams are starting to pull out. Some teams are
Oh yeah,
lagging behind. Some teams are definitely like surprisingly doing worse than they should be, and some are doing better. So we're gonna talk about all that
that's a
for
fact.
sure.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So last week we had some great matchups. I mean, there was a lot of questions answered last week's games. A lot of good teams played each other, so we were able to see, which one was going to come out on top. You want to
Hmm.
talk a little bit about last week's games?
Oh
Give
yeah,
us like
for
one of
sure, for
the
sure.
matchups you like.
Yeah, first one go Thursday night game, Bucks versus Eagles. Bucks end up winning that 28-22. But it was one of those games where it's a little bit better for the Eagles than it was for the Bucks. 28-22, defending Super Bowl champions. That defense is not looking too good. Brady threw for TDs. Fournette ran for 2 TDs. So like Brady's doing what he's supposed to do. Fournette's doing what he's supposed to do. But that defense seemed to kind of give up a lot of points and a lot of yards in the second half lately, and they're just gassing out early, and they're just almost giving up games. And this was a close one, for a a team that basically struggled. Jalen pretty much didn't do much. It was 28-7 in the first half, and they ended up winning 28-22. So pretty much they came out there, blew them out in the first half, and the second half, not only did the offense do nothing, the defense just pretty much fell asleep. So for me, it was kind of a bad look for the Super Bowl champions, and I don't know. We got to see what they bring us next week. So that definitely was, like I said, was a better game for the Eagles than it was for the Bucks. But obviously, a win to win. The Bucks won, and they walked away, and now they move on the next week. But that was Thursday's night game. A
Mm.
lot of people obviously were happy just at the way they won. No, the fact that they won, but not at the way they won. So yeah, that's how I took that game. What about you?
So yeah, I like that you gave the first half scores too because I mean the Bucks were tearing them up in the first half, 28-3,
Hmm.
like you said. They came out very strong. Leonard Fournette came out strong. I knew he was gonna go hard against his defense, and it's looking
Hmm.
like he's pulling out as that starting running back right now for the
Right. They
Tampa Bay
didn't know if he
Buccaneers.
was fitting that offense, and he's pretty much just doing what he needs to do 100%.
And every week, since week 1, he's gotten over 4 receptions, or he's caught over 4 receptions. So and sometimes 5 and 6. So they're
Hmm.
actually using it a lot more in the passing game too. So I do like what I'm seeing there. I think you're right as far as the Tampa Bay defense. I mean, just watching them let go all those points. Towards the end of the game, it was pretty bad to watch, and I'm a little surprised that Philadelphia wasn't using their running game a lot more. Miles Sanders was running pretty good. JPP wasn't stopping him on the Tampa Bay defense. Stu wasn't stopping him, so they were running all right for a little while in the third quarter, but then they just stopped running in the fourth quarter. I mean, I know they were down a lot, and they needed to come back, obviously. So you need to throw to come back, but they still needed to
Hmm.
use that run game a little bit more. Miles Sanders ended up with only like 40 yards, and they didn't use him that much. They used him for like 7, 8 runs. So I felt like they should have definitely used him more. I did see, like you said, I think that it's definitely a little bit better game for the Eagles than it was for the Patriots because obviously they're the Super Bowl champions, and
Hmm.
I mean, you would think that they would stomp on a team like this, like a young
Right.
team like the Eagles, but
Especially with the
you
first
could
half.
definitely see, yeah, you could see some potential with. I mean, even Jalen, I could definitely see potential. I saw a few
Yep.
times where he was definitely holding the ball too long, and he got sacked 3 times in the game. So that's one thing he's got to watch out for, holding the ball too long. But other than that, I thought he played a pretty decent second half. But it's still a good win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean,
Win to
they
win.
a win's a win right now, and the way that the NFC is looking, I think that they should be able to keep up with the top dogs in that division and keep up for that number one bye, whoever it is, where it be the Rams, Green Bay, or Tampa Bay right now. So we'll see. They're keeping up with them.
Nah, for sure, for sure. So obviously in the NFL, you'll take the win, move on next week, try to learn. But they're definitely not going to win a Super Bowl with that defense doing what it's doing right now. So they definitely got some questions to get answered in the next few weeks.
That's true.
Um, yeah. But another primetime game that was good was pretty much a game versus of nobodies versus nobodies. Seahawks versus Steelers. Pretty much Ben did play, but like that offense is just they don't know what to do. They don't have no identity. Well, actually, before I go do that, it was a 23-20 win, OT. Pretty
Overtime.
much, yeah. Gino Smith pretty much slow half for both teams, but Gino showed heart. Had a decent game, but then unfortunately fumbled on the last drive, which allowed the Steelers offense to get a field goal, which ended the game. So basically, that's how it ended up happening. But besides that, it basically won OT, a 2020 game. So very low scoring. Not much can get going. Steelers don't know if they're going to throw for 50 times a game, or they don't know if they're going to run 70% of the time. Right now, they're in the middle, and neither one's pretty much a threat. So they got to figure it out. Obviously, Seahawks are riddled with injuries. Defense is trash, but the defense pretty much held up. But that was another game where it was kind of worse for the Steelers than for the Seahawks. Like the Steelers' offense just really it shows it has no identity. Seahawks was able to hold in there with their horrible defense. Even with the injuries, Gino Smith kind of looked all right. He looked like he's going to be okay holding down the fort for the rest of the season. Who knows what's going to happen with the Seahawks? But hey, Steelers walk away with a win. Move on to next week. What can you say?
The only thing that I don't agree with you is like the one of the last things you said is Geno Smith's gonna be all right holding the Seahawks down.
I
About
mean, I don't
that,
know where they're going to go though.
I think
Nowhere.
I think Russell has got at least 2 weeks that he's probably not gonna play at least, and I don't see the Seahawks winning either one of those next two games. But what I will give you, like you said, the Seahawks defense did play well this game. We've been talking about the Seahawks defense all year, how they've been pretty terrible. They played all right this game.
Right.
That kind of showed me that Ben just can't score like he used to be able to. He can't throw the ball down the field. You see, he's always like, even when he gets hit just a little bit, he's always wincing and like something's always like hurting him, either a shoulder or a rib or something. He's always like holding on to himself when he gets hit. I thought Geno Smith played okay. He played decent enough in the fourth quarter to actually bring him back. That was pretty impressive actually, because they did 10 points. They were down 20-10, so he did come back. He got him a field goal in the last 6 minutes of the game. Then he came back and they scored that touchdown. And they were able to get it to overtime. And at that time, I really kind of thought that the momentum was going with him. And even from we saw like 2 weeks ago, Gino play. I mean, you see what happens at the end. Like he either throws an interception, he makes a bad play at the end, or he calls a fumble. And obviously that's what happened this game. He was bringing down the ball down the field, got to like the 40-yard line, his own 40, and then he fumbled it. He held the ball too long. He's another one of those quarterbacks that, and he's been in the league for so long that he should have outlearned this. He can't hold the ball that long. Just throw it away when you don't have your guys. If you don't see number one or number two option, throw it away or run with it. And he did try to run with it, and somebody obviously punched it out of his hands, and that's how the fumble was caused. And the Steelers had easy field position to kick that field goal. So I mean, it was kind of a momentum shift for sure in overtime, because I really did think that the Seahawks had a chance to win that game, a very good chance. And Geno Smith kind of ruined another game for him, because the last two games, it was his mistake that kind of cost him the game. So that's one thing with them. But like you said, with the Steelers, they don't have an identity still. They still got guys on offense that are like good skill positions. They still got James Washington. They still got Juju Smith-Schuster. So they got a few guys that can make plays. But Ben is getting older, and he can't throw the ball as deep. They're getting like 15-yard passes, 10-yard passes. They're doing a lot of screens. So I don't know if this offense is going to be able to score, especially in their division. where you got teams that can score like Cleveland, like obviously the Ravens.
All right. No, for sure, for sure. Both those teams really don't look like they're going anywhere. Steelers might actually
Steelers have a
get
better
a
chance.
playoff berth. That's what I'm
Steelers have
saying.
a
Get
better
a
chance,
playoff
I think.
spot if they pick up a few games here and there, but neither
Yep.
one's gonna make any noise. So, and that's why it was a game of pride, and it was actually a competitive game. A lot of people didn't like that was about to be that Sunday night game. Like, oh, we're about to have to watch this, but it turned out to be a decent game. So I was actually into it.
Yeah, I mean, it was decent. It was definitely a hard fought game. Like the teams fought hard, especially all the way to the
Exactly.
end. So, like, I mean, other
Exactly.
than like we said, like Gino Smith made that mistake at the end, but he played pretty decent. All game he played
Mm-hmm.
decent. He didn't make mistakes the whole game, other than in overtime. So, for him, it was a decent game. For Ben, it just looked like he's deteriorating. Even though they won the game, it looks like
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't look like how Tom Brady looks at 44. He looks like
That's a fact.
Ben at 38 looks like he's 70 compared to Tom Brady right now. I
He's
don't
not
know.
supposed to be looking like that, you know? He's not supposed to be looking that bad. And speaking of looking that bad, can we talk about the Bills' run defense
Oh, oh, oh.
looking that bad
That was
against your
my
boy
game of the week.
Derrick Henry? Yes, Monday night game, Bills versus Titan. Bills lost in a heartbreaker, 34-31.
Mhm.
Basically, could have went to overtime. Well, actually, before we even get there, let's just talk about Derrick Henry won for 3 TDs, 143 yards, including, I think, what, 71-yard touchdown?
Mhm.
Ridiculous.
Mhm.
Absolutely destroyed them.
How is he so
Pretty
fast
much.
and so big? Like how? Explain that to me.
Why does he continuously put them boys on highlight reels?
Mhm.
Every single, I literally said, it's notorious. Every single time you play Buffalo, come on, 143 on the third-rate defense?
Mm.
Come on, man. Destroyed
Ridiculous.
them. Basically, still a hard fought game. Uh, they could have kicked the field goal. Oh no, before they got to that, it was the third down. They tried to run for it. It was pretty much called short. They thought it was gonna go to first down, but then they got the call from upstairs saying nah, he didn't make it. So then they tried with the quarterback sneak on the 4th and 1 or maybe 4th and inches. Josh Allen didn't have good enough footing, pretty much fell flat with his feet, slipped right from under him, didn't go nowhere. Failed the conversion instead of going for the field goal that could have tied the game, going to overtime. They pretty much lost on the 4th and inch.
Right.
Yeah. So got destroyed. Still kind of held down the fort. Obviously, Josh Allen, he didn't have a bad game, but it was more about the Bills' top-ranked defense with 2 shutouts on their record
Yep.
against an easy schedule.
Mhm.
Basically, these 2 games, the Titans and the Chiefs, are the only 2 games that they had in the schedule that was pretty much going to be tough. And they went 1-for-1. So they played great against Mahomes, but they couldn't even hold Henry's jockstrap. So they'll go through the rest of the season. They'll definitely put a lot of low scoring points from the other team on the board in a couple of those games, but we'll have to see what they show in the playoffs. It was pretty much a back down to earth realization for that Buffalo defense. But at the end of the day, there's probably only like 1 to 3 people in the league who do that, and that Derrick Henry is one of them. So
Yeah. Honestly, he might be the only one against the Bills. And
yeah,
well, like
like
when we did
I ain't
this,
gonna front. I feel like Tom Brady could take on the Bills with a healthy
like a month
Tampa
like
Bay
that.
team. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, and we're definitely
Tom
gonna see that
Brady's
later
Tom
in the
Brady.
season.
You know what I'm saying?
They
Or
play
maybe if you see an Aaron Rodgers matchup, like there's certain people in the league that like you can never
to
count
light
them
up.
out in a game. You know what I'm saying? And Derrick Henry pretty much has Buffalo's number all the time,
We
every
are
time.
gonna see
And
that.
Tannehill still had a decent game as well. He had a rushing TD as well. That's
They have a
another
rushing
thing. They don't even let Tannehill score a rushing TD. That's what I'm saying. Like that, that defense.
that rush defense. That rush defense.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, that rush defense was definitely playing pretty bad, but we knew that Derrick Henry had the Bills' number. He's always had it. I mean, when we did the preview of this game, we even said that he was averaging 150 yards a game against the Bills. That's an average. So that's pretty crazy. The number one team he's averaging against is the Jaguars at 170, and then the Bills at 150, and that's pretty crazy. I think uh, he has to be an MVP conversation right now with the type of games he's had. He's had like over 100-yard games pretty much
Leading
every single
scorer. I
year,
mean, leading
every
rusher.
week. So you got to
Easily.
at least put him in a conversation. I know running backs don't get as much love out here as quarterbacks, but he's definitely got to get some love because he definitely put the team on his back. I think that the Buffalo pass defense was playing decent though, because they were holding down Julio Jones. They held him down to 6 catches. They held down AJ Brown, and AJ Brown and Julio Jones ended up being hurt by the end of the game. And AJ Brown
No,
didn't
that's the
play that
thing.
well. But the
That's
run
the thing.
defense, like you said, Tannehill was getting a lot of runs as well. On third down, he had two runs on a 3rd and 3, and then there was a 3rd and 7 that he got a third down play to move the chains. And this game, it was a hard fought game by both teams. There was a lot of lead changes. There was 8 lead changes the whole game. So they were obviously, coming back at each other. One will score, the other one will come back and score. It was back and forth, not too many punts, so it was definitely an exciting game. And obviously, when it went down to it, I don't think that the Bills made the wrong call by going for it on 4th down. Honestly, I thought that showed a lot of guts. I just thought it was the wrong play call. I didn't think that they should have had Josh Allen start out at the shotgun. They had him start out at shotgun and then come inside to the pocket and then try to go for the sneak. And if you kind of see it on slow motion, that kind of lost his momentum from if he would have stayed in the pocket and then did the sneak, he could have figured out which gap to go. But since he started out at shotgun, then came inside, he just picked the left side gap, and that was the one that was blocked obviously better, and he slipped on the bottom. He couldn't jump over the top. So that was the issue. But as far as the play call, like I do think that they should have went for an on 4th down to try to win the game. I mean, you kind of don't want to go into overtime at that point just because you saw that the teams were going back and forth at each other. They couldn't stop each
Yeah.
other, So I think that Sean McDermott, he kind of knew that even if they go to overtime, it was probably going to be
Derek got that
Tennessee's.
ball first.
Exactly. It probably would have been over for them either way. So I think there was a good play call to try to go for it. It does show that the Bills have guts. And I think the players are going to trust the coach a little bit more that he's taking the chances like that. Um, as far as the Bills, they have a cupcake schedule pretty much the rest of the season. They got one
Up.
other tough game. We are going to see that Tom Brady matchup against them. I think it's week 14 or week 15. So that's going to be a good matchup. But other than that, I think the Bills have a really easy schedule. Right now, they're a 2-loss team, but they're definitely going to be able to keep up with the AFC. The same thing with Tennessee. They're a 2-loss team too. They're 4-2 right now. I thought that Tannehill actually played pretty good, even without his 2 big weapons. He played decent. So we'll have to see what happens with them. I think that they're going to win their division too. Tennessee's going to win their division, but as far as how many losses they're going to have, I don't think that they're going to be in for the bye week. I don't think they're going to be in play for that.
Right.
It's going to be teams like the Ravens and the Bills and maybe like another team like who knows if the Chargers stay as hot as they are or somebody like that, in the
Right.
AFC. So one of those teams.
No, that's a fact. Um, it's still pretty much a good playoff race for both of those teams right now. But you know who's a team who's kind of falling out of that race?
Who's that?
Browns.
Oh, the
Pretty
Cleveland
much just
Browns.
got destroyed by Cardinals 37-14. By the end of that game, they had Case Keenum at quarterback, Dearness Johnson at running back, and a banged up line with 2 replacements. Pretty much 1-2 punch out of there. Ain't no more punches. You know what I'm saying? Baker Mayfield was playing mediocre. He's out of there. He's injured. Before he even got injured or got pulled from that game, he already had 2 picks and a fumble. Like
Nope.
his play was just reckless. Obviously, the Cardinals' offense played good. Murray had 4 TDs, but they didn't even need to play like great
Yeah, good. Yeah, they really
because the
didn't.
defense did it for him, and Brown's offense did it for him. So pretty much, it was so many injuries, obviously, to take away from the Browns, but Browns defense couldn't really do it all. Couldn't even hold down Murray and the Cardinal offense. There's so many weapons on that offense, and then obviously the Browns offense just pretty much did absolutely nothing. So it was a rough outing. Browns are looking bad because basically Baker Mayfield was trash, but the run and the defense was holding him down. With him out and the running backs out, that team really ain't gonna make it far. The defense is gonna really have to hold it down, even they're facing some injury. So it's not looking too good. But Cardinals remain undefeated, baby, and they're
Mm-hmm.
looking fantastic. And I definitely can't
Undefeated.
wait to see them moving on. Like they're just pretty much rolling through, uh, not just easy games, but they're really making it look easy. You know,
They're playing
the
tough
offense
teams.
is just high powered and just rolling through, and they definitely have beat a few tough teams. So I definitely like what I'm seeing from them for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely playing some tough teams. Like you got to see them against my Rams. You get to see them against the Cleveland Browns now. So a lot of people had a lot bigger thoughts on the Cleveland Browns at the beginning of the year. They thought that they were obviously
More
a
than the
Super Bowl
Cardinals.
contender. I mean, if you look at the Cleveland Browns, how much skill positions they have out there:
Mm-hmm.
Odell, Jarvis Landry, Chubb, Hunt. You know, obviously you got Baker out there. They still got David Njoku in tight end. They got so many skill positions out there that it's crazy that they can't score that many points.
Them boys are
Obviously,
dropping passes too.
yeah, they were dropping passes, and one thing that I don't get is Baker doesn't want to pass the ball to Odell. Like he just does not want to pass to him. He gets 3 to 4 targets a game. Like what is this? And I understand that Baker might be hurt a little bit. He had a problem with his non-throwing shoulder. It was dislocated. He fell onto it when somebody sacked him, and he was in like a sling. But then he came back and played, so he wasn't like 100%. But I mean, obviously at that point, if you're throwing interceptions and you're already like slightly hurt, you're getting fumbles. I feel like the coach should have pulled him out of the game, pulled him out like earlier than he did. You know, he let him go all the way to the close to the middle of the fourth quarter, and then he pulled him out. But I definitely feel like it should have been earlier, especially how bad they were playing. They saw that they weren't going to win the game. Carlos came out
Yeah,
hot.
yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins was just tearing them up on the back. He had like 3 plays over 30 yards. So he was getting some real long plays. Obviously, Kyler Murray's doing crazy MVP things. He
Amazing.
was my MVP before the season, and right now he's looking hot. And I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
feeling nice watching him. You know, definitely doing amazing things. Love to see his progressions. Love to see how much better he's gotten since last year. So it's it's good to see all his weapons really doing work too. Christian Kirk is doing work still. James Conner got a lot of yards that game too. He had like
Mm-hmm.
over 70 yards, even though he's not like the number one running back. He's probably their first and second down back, and they use their other back for third down back. So it's good to see him getting some yards because they're going to need running in the playoffs. That's what you need. You need running and good defense. And I saw that from their defense. Chandler Jones got another sack on Baker Mayfield. He even got a fumble. So Chandler Jones is looking like a defensive player to year candidate as
Mm-hmm.
well. Definitely got to put him, on that pedestal. Other than that, man, there's not much to say about the Cardinals. They're not making much mistakes. They're coming out
Mm-hmm.
strong, and they're not making
Execute.
mistakes to let teams, come back on them. Which, as you saw, like Tampa Bay, almost they made a few mistakes to let the Eagles come back on them a little bit, even though they didn't lose, but they still came back on them. And Arizona is not making mistakes against teams to let them come back. They're still playing hard all the way to the fourth quarter, all the way to the end of the game, and I think that's real big for them. I could definitely see them you know, possibly going to the NFC Championship game even farther the way they're looking right now.
No, I definitely hear you. They're looking great on all sides of the ball for sure, and it's absolutely amazing. Um, but definitely, Kyler Murray's in the MVP conversation.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah.
candidate. You said that in the beginning of the season, and he's looking good. A lot of quarterbacks are starting to shine through, especially the young ones. Speaking of another young quarterback shining through, MVP conversation, we got to start talking about our boy Lamar.
You definitely do.
Lamar Jackson, Ravens versus Chargers. They put an ass whooping on them.
Mm-hmm.
Ravens put an ass whooping on the Chargers. Stop that choo choo train right in its tracks, man. Bolt Nation was definitely feeling good about beating some tough teams. Now, it wasn't like they weren't just, you know, squeezing through with an easy record until they met the Ravens. They actually beat some tough teams, but that Raven defense pretty much just ate them up. It was 34-6. But here's the thing, and here's a lot of people have to realize about that Ravens defense. Not only are they good, their starting safety finally came back this week. Pretty much, once Deshaun Elliott came back, it allowed, and he's the one who got the pick. It allowed their starting safety for before him to go
Mm-hmm.
back to his corner position,
Okay.
which allowed the rookie corner to move back to the slot
Mm.
to allow everyone to play more their
Back in
natural
their positions.
positions
Right.
and get the help that they're supposed to get. And when that
Mm.
defense was finally, especially that secondary, was finally at its full force, they didn't even drop a touchdown. The Chargers, who was averaging like 30-something points a game, came out there and put up 2 field goals. Herbert only did like 165 yards in the TD. Now here's the thing: the offense. I don't want to say they didn't play well because Lamar only had like 167. No, Herbert had 195. Lamar had 167. Both threw for a TD and a pick. Uh, the Ravens offense necessarily didn't need to play well. They still put up 34 points. It was obviously an overall great rushing attempt. The defense pretty much held it down. Lamar pretty much still put like 80 something yards rushing. I think, still did his thing. So I just feel like he needs to throw more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just keep throwing it 200 yards on a TD and be an MVP quarterback. But he still is also the third quarterback to reach 6,000. No, I think 1,000 yards.
I think it was 6,000 passing and 2,000
6,000
rushing
passing
yards.
and 2,000 rushing. That's what it was. Yes,
Yep.
6 and 2.
Yeah.
So yes, so third quarterback to do that, and it's just like, okay, he break records, he show us things, but it's like we got to get it more consistently. So the Ravens offense necessarily didn't play that great, but they really didn't need to. So I don't know. Ravens looking good. Chargers kind of got stopped in their tracks. Both of them kind of still going to have good seasons, but it's going to be tough now. You know, Herbert's going to have to show he can come back, and that offense is going to have to show they can do some things. So we'll definitely see what both of those teams are doing, but I definitely expect both of them to be in the playoffs.
See, I see it a little different. I mean, I know that Lamar technically didn't throw for like 300 yards. He didn't have like a crazy quarterback game, but I thought that the Ravens offense played pretty well. They definitely played evenly with the rush and the pass. You know, if you look at it,
They just
Lamar
kept their
Murray,
chains moving when they needed to.
and they definitely got the chains moving for sure. They had a lot of first downs. I think they had like 19 or 21 first downs from what I saw. 21 first downs they had, and they had over 200 yards rushing. So they're back to that, that good rushing attack. Latavius Murray got a touchdown for them, and he played pretty well. He had over like 70 yards rushing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to see them definitely getting the run back. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson, he can pass when he wants to. A lot of guys did drop balls. There was like 4 drops that I saw in that game that one of them could have went for another touchdown for Lamar. So he could have had better stats for sure if one of the balls was caught by Hollywood Brown. A lot of people say that about Lamar, that he has lower percentages when he gets into the playoffs, lower passing percentages, completion percentages. But if you look at him in the regular season, he's around like 68, 70%. So you really can't go wrong with that. For a quarterback that can run as well, he's pretty much the best we've seen that can do both. He's a running back in a quarterback position, maybe, but he's still a great quarterback. He's better than 95% of these quarterbacks out here as
Oh,
well.
no, for sure.
So, I mean, as far as the Chargers, I'm disappointed in Herbert. I would have liked to see him even play better when they
Mm-hmm.
were down, like really big, because you would think that, the Ravens would have, been playing back a little bit. They would have played prevent defense a little bit more. So the middle would have been opened up. And even in the fourth quarter, I didn't see the Chargers move the ball at all. It was tough for them to move the ball the whole game. And Herbert didn't look good at all that game. That was the first game all season he didn't look good. Every other game, he was making great passes over 20 yards, passes over 30 yards. This game, they were very stagnant on offense, and Eckler couldn't get any movement. He had
Mm-hmm.
40 yards the whole game. So the Ravens defense definitely played great. Doomerville, he got 2 sacks. So they definitely played great. Like you said, they got their safety back, and everyone's playing their positions again. So it's good to see the Ravens like have another tough win that they had. I mean, against another tough opponent. Because this year they definitely had some tough games they had to win.
Mm-hmm.
Even as we saw like 2 weeks ago, they had to come back from behind, and now we see when they take a lead, they can keep it. So it's good to see them in different situations, which is, good for them in the playoffs. If they come from behind, they can do it. If they're up, then they can keep the lead. It's definitely good to see them play in different situations for me. And I kind of like what I saw from Lamar. He played decent. He didn't play bad. I mean, yeah, the one interception was pretty bad. It was a little bit overthrown. Other than that, he didn't play pretty bad the whole game. It was decent movement of the ball. Not much deep passes from him, but they didn't need it because the running game was doing so well. So they were moving the ball with the running game, and they just didn't need it from him. I just see him. He can pass it when he wants to. I don't look at him as
Really,
like can't.
that's what I'm saying.
I believe in him. I definitely do. I think they're definitely a Super Bowl
I see
contender.
it more consistently. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. I mean, for sure in the playoffs, he needs to be a little more consistent. In 4 games, he set a completion percentage of 40 or 64% in 4 playoff
Playoff game.
games. Yeah, and he's lost 3 of them, and in 3 of those games, he's only scored like 12 points out of the 4. So that's kind of bad to see. Like obviously last year when they played the Bills, it was like 28-3 when they lost the game. So he needs to play better against tough defenses. But
No,
Chargers
I
were
hear you. I
tough.
hear
He played pretty good.
you. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Definitely did. It was still a good note. Obviously, the Ravens just overall just destroyed the Chargers, so it's still a good game to see from them. So I hear where you're coming from.
Right.
But the last game I want to talk about from that week though was Raiders versus Broncos. Obviously, first game Raiders without Gruden, they won 34-24. Teddy didn't play that bad. Carr did 341 with 2 TDs. Uh, Drake, Kenyon Drake actually had a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Pretty much, he was the 2 TDs
Work.
doing work pretty much. So they found a way to get some sort of offense going, getting chunks of yards when they needed to. So it looked like the offense was doing pretty good. Obviously, the team's running out of motion. Pretty much just like so much going on, so much distraction. It was the first week out. I felt like that was just pretty much so much adrenaline that they went out there and definitely capped a good game. Pretty much, Broncos are having they won 3-0. I think people were excited, but we all knew what was going to happen. Defense definitely holding it down. Definitely good defense, but they didn't know what to look at last week or this week with the Raiders. So it was hard to game plan. Raiders came out, did their thing, pretty much threw out a different type of a scheme, than Gruden was trying to throw. So it was definitely different. But I feel like, it's not going to work every week now. They're going to still have so many distractions. So pretty much it was more of a comeback to life, a comeback down to earth for the Broncos, and a little win off of the high of everything that's happening for the Raiders. So, it was a decent game, but still, I don't really care for neither team right now at this point in the season.
You don't see them going anywhere, either one of them. Raiders might make the playoffs, I think, just by their record and based off. I mean, who else in their division? They really got to look at Kansas City. Other than that, you don't got to worry about the Broncos anymore since they just beat them once. And next time, I think they're probably going to beat them. I think the Broncos are coming back to life, like you said. I don't think that they played that bad, though. The Broncos played pretty good, and they kept the game pretty even most of the game. In the fourth quarter, obviously, the Raiders started coming back. They were down 21-24, and then they came back. Those last 10 points they scored, so they were definitely able to, show that they can win a game in the fourth quarter. Derek Carr, like you said, he had a great game. High thrown game. Josh, the running back for the Raiders. Why am I missing his name? Josh Jacobs. Thank you very much, Josh Jacobs. He didn't have a good game at all. Actually, he only had 60 yards rushing. I would have figured they would have tried to run him more because the Broncos defense is 26th in the rush, so they're definitely bottom 10. And you would think that they would want to play the rush more, but obviously they just wanted to play a passing game. They had that type of scheme, and it worked out for them. for now. As far as in the future, I think that they're going to need to use Josh Jacobs a lot more. I'm going to like to see them be more even with the ball, just like the Ravens were able to do, and be kind of even. They had a lot more passing with the Raiders this week. So I want to see them play more even style against harder teams. Against the Broncos, yeah, they can do this, but if they can do it against like a team like the Chiefs, then I'll be impressed. But as of right now, I think it's a good win for them. Obviously, the Broncos, we knew that they weren't going to do anything. Even when they were 3-0, we kind of knew they were going to come back to life. But
Right.
as far as Raiders, I do think that they have a chance to get a wild card spot right now, especially because their record is decent. They're 4-2 right now, I believe, and I think they definitely have a decent chance, to win other games in their division. So, other than that, I think it was a good showing for Derek Carr. He needed that. He needed to show out, and he did.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I definitely hear you. So Raiders definitely a way better chance. Obviously they got the better chance to show out. I just feel like there's gonna be so much distractions
Yeah, I
going
think
throughout the
so.
season, and it's
Who
just
do you,
gonna cause a lot of chaos.
who do you think got a better chance of making the playoffs, the Raiders or the Chargers out of their division? Because I think Kansas City is going to have that first playoff spot. So the Chargers or the Raiders might have to fight for a wild card spot. So who would you think would take a wild card spot if it was one of the two? Like I know they could both get in there too, but if it was just one or the other, who would you take to take it this year?
Hmm. I want to say Chargers because they faced tough teams and won, so it wasn't just like they got to the Ravens. So I feel like they could bounce back. So I'm gonna say Chargers. That's a good question. That's who I got. Who you got?
I think honestly, I think the Raiders right now. I'm looking at them just even watching them. Without John Gruden, they didn't lose much on offense. Their defense didn't play as well this week, but I think that if they get away from these distractions, if media finds like another story and it leaves them alone pretty much and lets them do their thing, I think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder a little bit. So I think that they can make it. That's what I got. We'll see though. Good
Okay,
question.
that's great. That's a good question, and that's a great way to cap out that recap. That's not only the last game we're talking about from week 6, but that's what we're getting into. Obviously we love to intermix a few questions into the segment, and that
Uh-huh.
wasn't even a plain one. So that was a great who you
Right.
got
I
question.
was just thinking about that when we
Uh,
were talking about it.
that's a fact. That's a fact. But definitely, let's get into a couple questions. Week 6, obviously in the NFL, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are starting to cement. A lot of realities are starting to become more real. So, pretty much a lot of storylines to catch on to, and pretty much we picked a couple. So the first one we want to choose is Browns. Can they win a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback? What do you think?
Man, that's a good question right there. That's a
Hmm.
tough one too. That's a tough one because I mean, if you asked me this last year, I probably would have said, yeah, they could. But looking at things now and seeing how they played at the end of last year in the playoffs, and then looking at how they started out and seeing their offense, how many skill positions they have on offense, how much they gave Baker Mayfield, and what he is not doing with it. Honestly, it's especially they got a tough division. They got guys like the Ravens. I mean, they still got Tom. I mean, not Tom. They still got other guys that are getting better. Like the Cincinnati Bengals are getting better just within their division. So, you know, obviously Big Ben and them they might be on their decline, but there's guys that are young that are really good. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, to name a few. So that the AFC is tough just to get into the playoffs and even win the playoffs against other guys like my Rams and the Packers and Tampa Bay. Do I think that he could possibly take him to a Super Bowl? Honestly, I don't. I don't think that Baker Mayfield can take the, the Cleveland Browns to a Super Bowl. But do I think Baker Mayfield can go to the Super Bowl? I think he could on a different team, honestly.
Oh. So
He's got 2 years left on his contract this year and next year, and they haven't signed a contract extension yet. And obviously, he's had a lot of ailments, injuries, and it doesn't look like the Browns are trying to commit to him fully. So what I'm seeing is that they're obviously kind of they're not giving him 100%, assurance right now, and he's looking at that as he's looking at it as a side eye, and he kind of is looking at his future, and who knows if he's gonna ever want to get a long commitment, a 5-year deal, and if anyone's gonna give it to him, I don't know if he's gonna be worth like a $200 million quarterback, somebody like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but I think somebody will be willing to give it to him. But do I think he's gonna win with the Browns? I don't think so. What about you?
so before I get into my choice or my answer, if he can't win it with the Browns, where he have all those weapons on offense and all those weapons on defense, who else can you win it with?
I mean, I think a team like the Rams, obviously, like they got Matthew Stafford right now, but a team that has like a good offensive line, because right now the Cleveland offensive line is one of the worst in football. So that's one reason he's definitely been getting injured. He has a lot of weapons that he's just not utilizing. Like we said earlier with Odell Beckham, he doesn't want to throw him the ball for some reason. I think they got some sort of gripe. I just think that the Browns organization, they've always had problems. They've always had issues for the last like 20, 25 years. And that's why they haven't been able to, push it to the next level. I mean, how many quarterbacks have they had in the last 25 years? Just think about that, and how many coaches have they had? It's just like a rotating organization. That organization is just toxic, I think. So I don't know if there's that much success you can have there.
Okay, okay, I hear you. Good point, good point. But my answer is also no. Um, I mean, definitely don't know what he's doing. He did say he had a bad offensive line, but he's so many weapons he's not using. Like you made a lot of good points, and to back up those points, pretty much 6 games in, uh, 1474 for yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, a 97.8 rating, with just one rushing touchdown, which was supposed to be his strength, being able to be a mobile quarterback, and it's just like clearly he's not looking good. He don't know what to do. Um, can he take them to a Super Bowl? No. Can they take him to a Super Bowl? Yes.
Mm,
Can they win with him at the helm at that said Super Bowl? No.
mm.
But even then, at this point, they're not taking him to Super Bowl this year because there's too many offensive teams um, on their side of the conference. That's pretty much going to stop them. So, uh, no, I think both our answers is no. I think a lot of people's answers is no. And like you said, the Browns have a lot of questions on what to do and what to offer when it comes to what they want to accomplish with Baker Mayfield because at this point, he's not looking like the answer.
So do you think he'll ever win a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback? Ever?
Never. Never.
Oh,
There's been more greats who've won.
yeah.
Hey, there's been more or less who's won, like fucking Nick Foles.
Hmm. For sure.
But at
But
this
even Nick,
point,
he had to, he wasn't drafted by the Eagles. He had to play in the Rams for 4 years before he went to the Eagles and won anything. We let him go
at
for a bag of peanuts when he was on the Rams.
this point, I don't imagine him being that great of a game manager to the
Hmm.
point where he can develop skills, come back to a team, and win a Super Bowl in like 7, 8 years. Because
See,
there's so many star quarterbacks that are just getting teams built around them that actually are winning that are gonna be able to fulfill that. Like, I don't know. No, not at all. I don't think so. I say no.
I agree with you right there. I don't think as a game manager, I don't think he's going to be able to win because, like you see, the young quarterbacks right now, they're throwing the ball deep. Like this is a passing game right now. A lot of people are throwing over 300, 350. You even seeing Dak Prescott at 400 sometimes. Now Brady's still throwing at 400 yards sometimes. So it's a passing league. You're going to need to throw the ball deep down the field, and we're not seeing that from Baker. And for him to have weapons like Odell Beckham, who's one of the best deep threats that we've ever seen in the game, and for him to not utilize him, it definitely shows like a character flaw in Baker Mayfield. Um, I don't know how to answer if he's ever going to win a Super Bowl. I kind of have a feeling that if he gets into another organization and has a decent offensive line, decent running back, and doesn't even need like a that much of a star receiver, because I think with a guy like Landry, he's been doing just fine even this year without passing it to Odell. He's been doing pretty decent. Like you said, he had decent numbers actually. 96 quarterback rating is really not that bad. If you look at, all the quarterbacks, around 100 is actually a pretty decent quarterback rating. Definitely in the top 10 of quarterbacks. So I think that on another team, possibly he could win the championship. I just don't see it with the Browns.
Okay, I hear you. Definitely still going to try to get him back and obviously make some noise getting to the playoff. But it's just something different about a specific quarterback that can just go out there, take over the game, take over the team, and pretty much pull out when they need to. And that's pretty much how they win Super Bowls.
You're
And
right.
speaking of quarterbacks, though, Aaron Rodgers is pretty much one of the top-notch persons when it comes to that. And it leads us into our next question. Uh, are the Packers a contender or a pretender? Pretty much, are they actually good enough to go out there, compete in the playoffs, and have a chance to win the Super Bowl? What do you think?
So my answer, I'm just gonna go out and say it. I think yes. First of all, I picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl this year. In the beginning of the year, I had Ravens and Packers in the Super Bowl, and I got the Packers winning it all the way this year. So I already saw them. I thought that they were going to be good. I know there was a lot of distractions in the beginning of the year with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, they got Jordan Love as a backup, who I don't think that they're going to start this year because they already seen that Aaron Rodgers is playing amazing. This week he didn't play great. He didn't really have to. He only had like 200 yards. They still came out and they beat Chicago. And you saw what he said. He said he owns Chicago, and he pretty much does. Whenever he plays Chicago, he beats them. I think he's only lost 4 times out of 20 when they played Chicago. So that's pretty crazy. That's a crazy stat for him. And I definitely think that they have a good enough team to win. The one thing that Aaron Rodgers never had was a running game, and they finally got Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones has been doing work. This week he got over 100 yards, and 2 weeks ago, not last week, but 2 weeks ago, he had over 100 yards. So he's definitely had games where he's had over 100, and that's one thing that you're going to need in the playoffs. You're going to need a good defense. You're going to need a running game and a quarterback that can come back from behind. And we already saw this year that Aaron Rodgers is the type, even if the game is tied or he's down, all he needs is 1 minute, 1.5 minutes in the game, and he can come back and win you the game. So I definitely think that that's another reason that they're not pretenders. Their team is good enough to come back from behind. Their team is good enough to slow teams down if they're up. I think that they're definitely a good enough team to win the Super Bowl this year. What about you? What do you think about them?
No, I hear you. And you made a lot of good points. I don't necessarily have them as a Super Bowl pick. I can easily see them going to the conference champion though. So I think that they more than likely have a good chance of getting to the Super Bowl if they make it to the conference champion because it's always a chance for Aaron Rodgers. But no, I say yes as a contender as well. Like you made a lot of good points. Obviously, they got Aaron Rodgers, great target, and Devontae Adams, a target that he seems comfortable with, that he likes hitting a lot. Decent run game that's becoming a lot better. Defense is pretty good overall. Obviously, got to pick up on the pass block and on the pass defense, but the run defense isn't that bad. Pretty much at any point of the game, if it's a close game, Aaron Rodgers at the helm pretty much gives you a chance to win the game. So they definitely gonna keep contending. They don't have the hardest schedule, and I can 100% see them going to the playoffs. And obviously, like I said, going to the conference champion, and then depending on who they're playing, I might pick them. So yeah, I can see them going to the Super Bowl. It's not that far fetched, not at all.
I
So yeah, I
mean,
think sure.
if they get the number one seed, Lambeau Field is one of the hardest places to play in the playoffs. If they get the number one seed, do you think they make the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah.
so too. I think so too. If they make the number one seed, I think it's a for sure thing that they make the Super Bowl because going through Lambeau, especially that
And if
time of
you
year.
go with Aaron Rodgers, you almost have to pick Aaron every time.
Yeah, yep, they're definitely gonna be favorites. Yeah, especially if it's in Lambeau. If it's somewhere in like LA, if the Rams happen to, or maybe Arizona. I mean, if they happen to take the number one spot, then it might be different. But in Lambeau, I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers take it all the way this year. which they have a chance. Right now they're 5-1. They're one game away from the Cardinals,
Mhm.
so they're definitely on pace with them. So I definitely think that they're definitely contenders.
No, they definitely are. And they're gonna have a great season, honestly.
Honestly, for me, there's like four contenders in the NFC. I think my Rams, I think Tampa Bay. Well, actually, five. Let me get five: Rams, Tampa Bay, Dallas, Arizona, and then the Packers. Those are my five contenders.
That's a hell of a gauntlet right there.
It
Any
is.
one of those teams have a really good
And
chance at winning games in the playoffs.
all those are high-powered offenses too. If you notice,
Mm-hmm.
and I see
Mm-hmm.
high-powered offense, crazy. So
No,
from
that
a
is crazy.
high-powered offense, since we're talking about high-powered offenses, there's a high-powered receiver that's been playing lights out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase for the Cincinnati Bengals has been balling out, breaking records, doing work his first six games of the season. With a guy like Joe Burrow's out there throwing in the ball, Jamar Chase, I wanted to ask this question. Do you think he's the rookie of the year so far? And do you think he's going to win it at the end of the year?
Obviously, it looked like it was Trevor Lawrence award to lose. He's not even on most people's radar right now. Just won his first game with the Jags. But there's been a lot more impressive rookie. I don't know if lineman necessarily win rookie of the year, but there's been a lot of good offensive linemen putting in work. But yeah, right now Chase is my rookie of the year, and I think he is going to win it. 6 game in, he got 27 receptions. Um, 553 yards, 92 game average, 20 catch average, uh, 5 touchdowns, and a 65.9 catch percentage. Pretty much Joe Burrow's favorite target. He's clearly their best receiver. He's clearly facing the best corners and still putting up 92 yards a game with 20 yards a catch. Doing work. Absolutely doing work. Better than anyone could imagine. Him and Burrows clearly got that connection, and they're just only going to get better. He's athletic as hell. He's fast as hell. He's agile as hell. And obviously, the boy can catch. I don't know why there was any doubt about it, but he's pretty much running away with that reward and give it a few more weeks. But for me and for a lot of people at this point now, it's his to lose,
Hmm.
barring any injuries.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I agree with you. If uh if Mac Jones would have came out and won that game in New England last week, I kind of
Against
would have said,
Tampa Bay.
yep, I would have said Mac Jones. But since they didn't
Who?
win, I mean, who Mac Jones? But since they
Right.
didn't win, honestly, I might have to go with Jamar Chase. Look, he's doing things that haven't been done since Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice. He's on pace with these guys as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He's got more yards than Randy Moss had at this point in his rookie campaign, which is ridiculous because Randy Moss had one of the best rookie seasons that we've ever seen to date. 1998 rookie season for Randy Moss was ridiculous, and Jamar Chase is balling out. One thing that I don't agree with you with is that his hands are all the way there. I mean, 68% catch, catching percentage is not great for a great
It's
wide
a
receiver.
rookie getting targeted a lot.
He's
That
getting
got a
that's
young
true.
quarterback who isn't accurate facing top corners. Like there's a lot of factors that go into that 65%. And for a
I don't know.
rookie, that's not bad.
I saw some drop. Like I watched that. I watched the game last week, and even though he had some good catches, he had two touchdowns in that game, but he had some drops in that game that came right to his chest, and he missed it. I think that Joe Burrow is actually a really good quarterback. Like we saw this year, he's been very accurate. He's over 73%, 74% in a year, which puts him at the top 10. I think that he's like you said, he's rookie. He's young. He's gonna learn. Maybe he doesn't have the
Right.
right gloves. Maybe he's gonna figure out which gloves help him best to catch. The best. Sometimes that's all it takes. You just figure out the right gloves, the right glove shape, and you start catching it amazing. You don't miss anything. I
Right.
think he's got so much talent that he could get even better, and he he could even break bigger records that we're seeing. To have that many yards with those little receptions, like you said, 20 yards catch. That's pretty ridiculous. That's a record, another record right there. That Randy Moss was at only like 16 yards a catch. So he's doing things that we've never seen before. And do I see him as Rookie of the Year right now? Yeah. And I think he's going to win it? I think exactly like you. I think you said it right. It's his to lose. It's his to lose, and I don't see him losing it right now. I
Mm-hmm.
would have said like if Trevor Lawrence would have won a few more games, he just hasn't looked great. Mac Jones, he hasn't looked great. He's looked decent, but not great. So the only one that's looked great was Chase. I
He's
gotta give it.
exciting. He's honestly one of the most exciting receivers, not just rookies,
Yeah,
receivers
yeah,
in general to watch right now.
I agree.
So
Sure,
yeah,
especially
at
this
this
year.
point, it's his award.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's crazy. A lot of people didn't think so, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, they didn't even think the Bengals was gonna be putting up that type of offense either.
It's true.
So
That's true. Their offense is playing very well. I mean, and
and
they're
there's a
running.
lot of questions about his catching before he started too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, though, if you look at the draft, I think that he should have been the number one receiver picked. I'm kind of mad at what Philadelphia did, picking Devontae Smith. I thought he was a little bit better than
Really?
Devontae Smith, to be honest. To me, I saw him when he played in Alabama. I thought he was a better receiver than Devontae Smith. And Alabama receivers. I mean, Julio Jones been from there. You got like Alabama receivers always do work. DK Metcalf was Alabama. There's Alabama receivers that always show out. And I just thought that Philadelphia, they needed a bigger guy. They didn't need a guy like Devontae Smith. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with him too.
No, dude, that's a good question. Now we have a lot of good questions, man. It's a interesting
Yeah,
season.
it's tough to see. 'Cause, there's obviously there was another rookie wide receiver that was picked in between them as well. I'm just right now I'm forgetting who it was. I just I definitely want to add him in there because he was definitely good as well. It was his partner in Alabama. I'm sorry, in LSU. Excuse me, in LSU. It was his other receiver. Um, Forgot who it was though, man. That's all right.
Uh,
I'll think of it probably
so,
later. Maybe we'll talk about it. I'll think about it and we'll talk about it.
uh,
But those are definitely some good questions, though. I definitely think you're right. I think it's his award to lose, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the season. He's so exciting to watch, though. So,
no, that's a fact. And it's definitely kind of depends on how a lot of these games go, And now we're moving on to week 7. You got a lot of good matchups, and obviously we wanted to talk about a few of those.
yep.
Obviously games of the week. Starting off with our first matchup on Thursday night, we got pretty much Browns versus Broncos. Um, Case Keenum is starting. Obviously, banged up line, banged up running backs, banged up quarterback. That Browns defense is gonna have to hold it down and try to stop a decent Broncos offense with pretty much having to deal with a bad Browns offense facing a decent Broncos defense. So at that point, I think it's going to be a 24-21 win for the Broncos. Tough fall. But they're going to be a better overall team, even though the Browns have a better defense. Just that offense, I can't see it producing much. Um,
Yeah.
I don't.
Cut out a little bit, but I definitely get what you're saying with the Broncos are going to be the better team. You want to finish your thought right there about the Broncos? I just didn't hear that last thought about the
Gotcha.
Broncos.
Yeah, no. I said the Broncos pretty much have a better offense.
Hmm.
Pretty much Browns have a better defense. But with the Browns not being able to produce much on offense, the Broncos are going to walk away with a 24-21 win.
Okay. Okay. Well, see, I got this one totally different than you. I mean, I do think that the Broncos their defense is pretty stellar. I mean, but from we saw the first few games from them, but the last few games they definitely haven't been that. Um, they let the Raiders throw it all over them, and Case Keenum is a similar quarterback to Derek Carr. So honestly, that's why I honestly think Case Keenum is going to play better with the weapons that the Browns have than the way that Baker Mayfield's been playing. But here's the thing: Baker Mayfield has been a little bit injured. I think he even said that he's been playing with a dislocated shoulder this whole year, like on and off. He's been in a sling on the sidelines when he's on the field, so he's definitely been playing injured. And I kind of want to see what Case Keenum does because he likes to throw the ball a little bit deeper, and this might be a big game for Odell. I don't think anyone on that Broncos defense could take Odell. So I'm going to be interested in that. I do want to see Melvin Gordon against that Browns defense because
That's a fact.
last week they were getting ran all over, and even by Austin Eckler and by James Conner over there in Arizona. So it was a beating over there. So I definitely want to see the running game, but I think I got this game, the Browns winning this one, just because I think Case Keenum is going to play a little bit better than what we've seen from Baker Mayfield right now. I got this one 24-8, or sorry, 24-17. 24-17. It's going to be a one touchdown game for me.
Oh wow, and that's 24-17 Browns over Broncos.
Yep, Browns over Broncos. I got Case winning it. The Broncos are on a downturn right now. They're just getting worse and worse.
And you're right, Case Keenum could actually turn out to be a lot better than most people think because he got the experience. So
he does. He played for my Rams for a few years, and I watched him over there. He's a decent backup. He's a good thrower.
That's the bias.
Nah, it's not a bias.
That's the bias. But you know what's crazy though that you picked 24-17, because that's actually what I got the score as for Sunday night's game. Colts versus 49ers. I got 49ers winning 24-17. Same thing as Browns versus Broncos. Browns look this way because of all the injuries, but the Colts and the 49ers basically is this way. Pretty much teams versus teams. I obviously think that Carson Wentz is better than Trey, but at this point, the Colts offense don't look too good. Colts defense looks slashed up. 49ers offense don't look that great, but the 49ers defense is a little better than all other aspects from both teams on the field. So just the fact that they got that better defense, I feel like they could pull that edge for that one touchdown win. But pretty much the Colts are going to give a decent fight, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. 49ers beating the Colts 24-17. What do you think about that?
Damn, so 2 games in, and we disagree on both.
Oh, wow.
Bro.
What
I got
rough week.
So, Trey Lance played terrible last time we saw him. He played terrible. He couldn't move the ball.
It's going to be a running game for both of them.
It might be. I think that Wentz is going to be a better passer, like you said, in this game. Once he just got back, his receiver T.Y. Hilton last week, he got him back. T.Y. Hilton had like 60 yards in last week's game. That was his first time back this year. I think that's a big weapon for them. They still got Parrish out there who's going to move to the second slot right now. So they got a decent offensive weapons. I am going to like to see if the 49ers defense could get a few stops, maybe even a few interceptions or turnovers to keep the game closer. But I'm going to be honest. I don't know if Trey Lance can, until I see them do it, I don't know if I could see him scoring that many points. Like you said, 24. I don't see this game being higher than 17-10. I got the 17-10, the Colts. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, defensive battle.
See, for me, the fact that 49ers are getting some running backs back, I think they're going to lean heavy on the rushing attack, and the Colts are going to try to do the same thing, and that's how I see it going. But I definitely, obviously, if it becomes a quarterback, not per se shootout, because it's going to be a low-scoring game regardless, but if it becomes a quarterback game, then yeah, obviously Carson Wentz and the Colts are going to have to take that one for sure.
Yeah, like I said, until I see Trey Lance do it, and until I see him score like over 30 on his team, I just don't. I can't trust him to score that many right now. I haven't seen it, so can't trust him to do it. But that's definitely a decent matchup because I think that the Colts need to keep up with a team like the Titans, so they kind of need a win. And honestly, if the 49ers don't get this win, then they're pretty much out of the NFC West because the Rams are so much above them, and so are the Cardinals. And obviously with the Seahawks without Russell Westbrook, without Russell Wilson, they're going to lose a few games as well.
No, for sure. So yeah, at this point, week 7, a lot of games are somewhat playoff in division conference contention. So you definitely gotta try to pull out wins when you can. And those 2 games are gonna be close games. A lot of these games I feel like this week are close games, and it's a good week for that.
I
Because
agree.
Monday night we got Saints versus Seahawks, and I think that's going to be a field goal, 24-21. But I got the Saints. So basically, Gino and the Seahawks were admirable, um, but pretty much a team where the Saints are. But Kamaro's coming back, and they got a bye week. So I think with fresh legs and a fresh week, they're gonna just edge out the Seahawks defense is pretty much not gonna be able to do much for Kamara. Saints are just a little bit better overall. Obviously, at this point, a lot of injuries are plaguing a lot of teams, so we just got to see what we can get. But that's Monday's night game, and I definitely think that the Saints walk away with a field goal win,
You got it
24-21.
close. You got it
Mm-hmm.
close. So part of me kind of wants to just say fuck it and take Geno Smith, just because this is a revenge game for him. If you remember, 2 years ago he played for the New Orleans Saints, and he was a backup to Drew Brees, and he even started a few games for them. Um, Obviously, after that he had to move on and be a backup somewhere else. But I think this is definitely a little bit of a revenge game for him because he played for them, and they didn't want to keep him, and they went out and they grabbed a guy like Jameis, or actually they got Bridgewater first, and then they got Jameis Winston after. So they got two guys that are similar, like Gino, but they didn't want to keep Gino. So it's definitely gonna be a little bit of revenge for Gino. But honestly, you broke the game down very well. I just don't agree with your final assessment, the score.
Score.
I do think that as far as Gino, is he going to be able to score points? The Seahawks defense is not looking great. They did look good last week, but are they going to be able to sustain that? I don't think so. And since Kamara's coming back, I think it's definitely going to be a higher running game. Also, New Orleans is getting back Michael Thomas this week. It's going to be his first week playing.
Is
So
he?
he's going to
I
be
thought
playing
that
this
was
week.
for sure.
He was out the first week. The first 6 weeks he was out, and now week 7 he's coming back. So he was on the physically unable to perform list. So that's a huge weapon right there. Huge weapon for is Jameis going to be able to throw to him? We'll see.
That's dope. You're right.
But
That's probably gonna be at least a
for
10
that
point.
reason, yeah, for that reason, honestly, I got this game a lot higher. I think it's going to be 38-21. I got this a 17-point win. I think
Mm,
I don't think I think Gino's going to be able to score at the end a little bit in the fourth quarter, but I think the Saints are going to come out hot. They're going to score a lot of points, and at the end, towards the third, fourth quarter, maybe Gino's going to come back and score a few points. But I think it's a high scoring game.
okay, okay. You're right. Kamara should be able to run through that defense, and obviously, if they got more weapons on offense, then yeah. 'Cause that Seahawks defense pretty much is trash. They held it down to 4 last week, but it was
Yeah,
not against a good
on
offense,
four, but
so no one's really impressed with that. So I could definitely see your points. I could definitely see your points.
I mean, if
Um,
it's closer, it would be because it would just be because it's a defensive battle, and Seahawks are playing better than
right,
obviously they are.
right,
But
exactly.
if Kamara comes out and runs all over him like he could do, he's good enough to do that, then I think it's going to be higher than not. Yeah, because Jameis has definitely been playing decent this year. I know he had that one game with 3 interceptions, but other than that, he's been playing decent enough to keep this team, high scoring. You know,
No,
so we'll
no,
see.
he's been doing his thing. He's been slinging it when he need to, and now that they have the running attack back, you're right. I hear you. And now he got a tall ass receiver he could just throw to. So yeah,
Exactly. I think
I
he's
definitely.
definitely a big difference maker. I mean, obviously, we saw what he was last year. Last year, he was one of the best receivers in the league, Michael Thomas. So this year, when he comes back, we'll see.
That's a fact. Um, the next game I want to talk about Chiefs versus Titans. It's
Mm.
going to be air versus ground. Defenses can't hang on either one of them. Titans defense can't hold Mahomes. Chiefs defense can't hold Henry. So pretty much it's all going to be on who can do what. But obviously, quarterback can throw more yards in a game than a running back. So it's probably going to be a Chiefs win. And I think that's going to be 30-24 Chiefs.
So
And
I mean,
obviously, they had a lot of, they just made their pocket a little better too, the Chiefs. So they're going to give Mahomes a little bit more protection as well. So definitely
right.
30-24 Chiefs.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good score actually. Yeah, Honestly, yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes is gonna have a good game. Um, when we saw Tennessee, obviously they beat the Bills, but Julio Jones was hurt at the end of the game, and so was AJ Brown. So if they're gonna come back, we'll see what happens with them. If they're gonna be 100%, that might be a
Mm-hmm.
problem. I think that right now with the Chiefs, we didn't know what their running game was going to be. Well, Damian Williams came in last week and he played really well. I think he played very well, and hopefully he keeps that up. And for that reason, I think that the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think Tannehill's going to have trouble again. Derrick Henry's going to do work. He's going to go over 100 yards. I just think that Tannehill's going to make one or two mistakes where the Chiefs, they take advantage of it and they have like a short field, maybe score points on it. So I think I got this one score game. I do think it's going to be higher, closer to like 31-24, something like that. Yeah, that's my score. 31-24 Chiefs.
Okay, hey, either way, Chiefs should definitely walk away with that. It should be a good game. Obviously, great conference matchup. So I definitely like it. I definitely
Yeah,
like it.
but if Tennessee wins, I think we're going to come back and we're going to be talking are the Chiefs in trouble because right now, obviously,
Mhm.
right now we're 3-2 right now. If they lose this, they'll be 3-3. Oof, that's
No,
tough.
we're in real trouble. Exactly, exactly.
That's
No, I definitely hear you, and that's what I'm saying. We're getting into that grind time where you got to start figuring out who you are as a team and start walking away with some of them wins that you need to walk away with.
especially because like there's only one bye week now in the NFL. In the
Mhm.
playoffs, there's only one bye week. I mean, yeah, they added um, the extra what's it called? Playing not playing game, the wild card team. So now you have 7 teams making it from each conference instead of 6. But there's only that one first seed gets that bye, so that's going to be important for whoever gets it. And you can't keep losing games. I don't think you can lose more than 4 this year
Right.
to get there. You know, maybe
Yeah,
even 3.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. Yeah, tough teams, tough matchups. Another one that I want to talk about: Eagles versus Raiders. Um, this
that's
might
a good.
be it's gonna be a great game, I think.
I
And for
think so
me,
too.
I'm actually picking the Eagles in a 34-27 shootout. Um, I think, like I said, the Raiders are running on fumes. They have a lot of good offensive plays, but their defense likes to fall asleep in the second half, and the Eagles pretty much come alive in the second half. Derek Carr's inconsistency with, like I said, I feel like the adrenaline kind of settles down now. Uh, they get figured out. No one's gonna be surprised. They kind of have a little bit of a game plan now that everyone might figure out. So I think it's gonna be a tough game. But like I said, it all comes down to the Eagles like to pick it up in the second half, while the Raiders like to fall asleep. And they always seem to try to give up games like that. And this week, I think they will because the Eagles are hungry and they just need that one win, especially now that it's going to be 1 week after the Gruden thing is removed. And I feel like they actually will figure the Raiders
And
offense out a little bit and everything's starting to settle in as well for the Raiders. So yeah, I think it's a 34-27 Eagles win.
that's a great assessment. A great assessment by you. And you broke down the Eagles' offense and the Raiders' defense pretty well. Their problems. For me though, honestly, there's not much rhyme or reason why I'm gonna say this. It's more of a feeling. I have a feeling this week that the Raiders are just gonna win the game. Um, we saw last week that they could pull out a pretty tough one. They were down 24-21 and they were able to come back and win it. Even with Gruden out, as of right now, I think that Derek Carr is playing pretty well. Um, right now, Jalen is not playing that well for the Eagles. I do want to see him play a little bit better out of the pocket. He looks a little bit short in there. He needs to definitely like start throwing the ball deeper down the field and stop doing those little screens and little wide receiver screens as well. They need to start throwing it down the field. I definitely want to see that because I'm disappointed this year by him, especially from what I saw last year. The last 6 games of last year, he played pretty well, and it looked like he was gonna take a step up this year. We just haven't seen it. As far as the running game, they need to use Miles Sanders a little bit more this game. They need to definitely have him run the ball as well, keep it more consistent. That's definitely going to be a way that they can win. But honestly, there's no rhyme or reason for me saying this. You have better points. The Eagles look like they're the better team right now, and especially with everything going on with the Raiders. But I just have a feeling that the Raiders going to pull this one out, and it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a 27-24 victory, I think. And honestly, it might be the last either like a overtime or a last second field goal type thing, where either one of these teams can win. But I just think that Oakland could pull it off at the end.
And that low scoring too.
Yeah, low scoring one.
Okay. Well, all right, I definitely hear you. Obviously that can go either way. Like you said, the Raiders could just be really getting to their own, and the offense could actually be doing what it's supposed to do. Very inconsistent from both of those teams. So we'll definitely see which one wanted more that night. So I
We
guess
definitely want to see them be more consistent. We need to see both of them more consistent. I mean, Derek Carr needs to be more consistent without throwing interceptions, and honestly, the Eagles, they need to show that they can run and pass, because they've been just staying with the pass. They haven't been running as much. They need to start running the ball more. Miles Sanders is a decent running back. They got to give him the ball.
That's a fact. That's a fact. No, I definitely hear you on that, man.
They both need wins too. That's another one that they both
Yes,
need.
everyone needs one at this
They
point.
got to keep up
That's
with
the ones
Dallas.
you should be doing, yeah. And this is one that both teams feel like they can pull away with, so I definitely hear that. So
Definitely one of the closest matchups of the week, though. I think that's one of the closest matchups for sure.
yes, for sure, I think it should be. Because next game, I definitely don't think it's gonna be a close matchup. Bengals versus Ravens. I actually think the Ravens are gonna walk away with a decent win, 33-21. Pretty much Ravens looking great on all sides of the ball right now. Like I said, defense finally coming into form. Lamar don't have to be great as long as the rest of the team can do their rushing like they should. He can pretty much do what he needs to do when he needs to do it, and they find a way to win. It's going to be a good offense versus good offense, but the Ravens obviously is going to have the better defense, and obviously they technically have the better offense. So I definitely can't wait to see those teams tee off, but I definitely think that the Ravens going to have a good week with a lot of output, get a lot of yards where they need to and when they need to. And that's very important. I love winning these games basically for them because they pretty much can't go out there and just do what they want. They have to pretty much find a way to chip away when it's important. And so they walk away with a 33-21 win.
33-21.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, pretty significant. So I think I have this a little bit closer just because it's a divisional game. I think that we're seeing that the Bengals offense is pretty decent right now. We talked about Jamar Chase obviously, and you know, Uzadoki. They got this other tight end who's been playing really decent. Honestly, if you look at the stats on all tight ends, I think he ranks in the top 5 of tight end, obviously receiving yards and receptions. So their offense is decent. You know, they still got Joe Mixon as a running back. Obviously on the other side, we're looking at Le'Veon Bell now on the Ravens, and obviously Latavius Murray still on the Raiders. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that running game. I want to see. I just want to see Lamar Jackson play consistent this whole year. Just have them run the ball and pass the ball, run the ball and pass the ball. Don't have them go out there passing for 400 yards, and don't have them go out there and rushing for 200. You know, have him just be more consistent with it. If he's able to do that and not throw interceptions, because I do think the Bengals defense is decent. They're actually pretty good. You know, so they can get one thing about them is they get turnovers. They definitely get a lot of turnovers this year. I think it's going to be a closer game, though. I think this is going to be probably a 3 to 4 point game. Honestly, probably a 4 point game. I got this one 34-30, pretty high scoring.
I could see that a lot of throwing. Definitely a lot of throwing.
I do think so, and I definitely think there's going to be a few rushing. I think the Le'Veon Bell is going to come out this week. They're finally going to give him the first running back spot, is what they said so far this week. So we'll see. You know.
No, that's dope. Definitely gonna be a great ass week, man. A lot of good games, and I just
great games,
week
man.
7. I can't wait to. I mean, it's football. You gotta love it, and it's just it's getting rough, man. It's getting crunch time. Yeah.
We're finally seeing teams pull out. You know, obviously Arizona is probably one of the best teams. Just real quick before we end this podcast, Who do you think the number one team in the league is right now, as far as like let's say power rankings? You
To
gonna say
me,
Cardinals?
undefeated. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. I like it. I like it. See, I'm gonna be honest. Just from watching like the competition too. I mean, honestly, I can't say that. No, you're probably right. It's Cardinals, but I'm gonna give a nod to the Packers. I think the Packers are right there, just because who they faced. They faced some pretty tough teams too. I mean, obviously, the Cardinals did beat my Rams, so and we just saw them beat the Chargers too. So they played some tough competition too, and Cleveland as well. They beat, so they play some good competition. So you might be right. Yeah, I think it's the Cardinals right now. I think you're right.
Hey, but we still got a lot of season left, though.
Mhm. That's for sure. I think my Rams will definitely come back and at least beat them in our home turf. Hopefully,
I
we'll
know
see.
it's going to be a tough game, that one.
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait for that one, man. That one's definitely circled on the schedule. We'll talk about that one when it comes to it for
Oh, of
sure.
course.
It was a good week of the NFL and a
Yes,
good
sir.
podcast. Really appreciate everyone listening to the podcast. If you guys want to find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Hangout, we're everywhere. If you want to watch the podcast, check us out on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you want to hit us up on social media, you can.
Of course, we love the social interaction. We love the fan interaction. We pretty much love the support. We try to just give you the best sports content we can, and we're going to keep it coming and keep churning out as much as we can for the next. However, you know what I'm saying? We love basketball. We love NFL. We love fights. We're going to just keep it coming, man. And we love everything you guys give us.
That's a fact. And we always give our predictions. I mean, we might not be 100%, but we definitely are closer to that 100% than we are to that 50. So
The
I
fact.
know that's so I know that's one thing we always watch our sports and we watch it very carefully. I think the way that we watch it is we like to see the intricacies of the sport, not just the stats, but we like to see you know the
We
intertwinings
love
of the
the
game.
team.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. And that's one reason why I definitely love having these little prediction episodes, how we give our predictions before the week. Definitely gives me a little insight to watch the game too. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you guys
So,
for listening to Who You Got With
Mellow.
and Rado. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.